think that was a sign we should have stopped at the 26-minute mark.
That would have been a tight episode, yeah.
Anyway, welcome to Star Trek Trek, ongoing. Listen to our belabored moans and how enthusiastic we are to talk about this episode. Somehow we're less. We're less enthusiastic to talk about Lonely Among Us than we are to talk about Mud's Women. But yeah, welcome to Star Trek Trek, our ongoing series continuing the adventures of the Star Trek. Blah 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 blah. Go on, Otto.
I was just going to say, a couple hours ago, we're like, well, we have to watch Mud's Women, but at least there's a TNG episode after that. And I'm like, can we please go back to Mud's Women?
Yeah.
Wow.
Where there's a shred of character development.
So,
all right, hold on. This episode established that Beverly is terrified of everyone, including the captain. Riker's completely incompetent. There's no Starfleet regulation against taking over the ship when the captain has admitted to being possessed. Geordi is not a competent engineer. Apparently random energy strikes eat Worf first. I don't know why that is. Wesley is still as annoying as ever. The only competent person on the ship, Engineer Singh, was killed in the first 15 minutes. So there goes the plot.
R.I.P.
Troy has no idea what anyone is feeling until the captain is scattered into billions of tiny particles. Then she can sense his thoughts. Like, this episode was a complete mess from start to finish.
Okay, and that's about to summarize it, so let's go to the ratings. Honestly. Okay, so this was written by Michael Halperin. This was the only thing he did. The teleplay,
thank God.
Yeah. So the teleplay, i.e., the person that has to make this into an actual episode of TV, was done by DC Fontana. So a little bit of pedigree there, but not written by DC.
Can you imagine that someone came along, shat on her desk, and she was like, "All right."
Yeah, a little bit. However, this was directed, and we can't blame the story for the direction, but this was directed by Cliff Bowl, who's actually got a bit of a reputation. He did Hide and Q, Cupid, Defiant, Facets, Tuvix, Q and the Grey. I mean, there are loads. Dark Frontier. The most notable thing he directed, The Best of Both Worlds. So this is the same director
honestly,
of that.
It shows because he actually has some decent lighting going on every now and then.
A little bit, yeah. Even when it's on the end of a Soleil, neon, grappling.
Neon party stick.
Yeah.
Dude, you joked, but that glow stick was the best part of this episode by a
it
mile.
was.
We all perked up
that
when
turned
that
it
came
around.
on.
I never thought I never thought I'd say this, but I'm actually disappointed at an episode of The Next Generation. How dare it be this bad?
We're not mad. We're just disappointed.
A little bit.
I'm surprised. I there's plenty of TNG that's awful. I didn't realize it was going to be caught in this.
I don't know. No,
draggy,
there's TNG that's bad. Like, the bad episodes are just like, what the fuck are they doing? This is just like, why are you this awful? Like, how can this plot
it's
about
the meat protein paste of an episode?
You don't even get to the point where you go, oh, what is this sentient being? Let's go and investigate it and talk to it and reach an outcome. No, it just vaporizes Picard into a million pieces, and we get Clone Picard show up on the transporter room. Like, there's go on.
Okay, so there could be a thread here, right? Alien contact with a new life form. Except every time we're introduced to it, all it does is make the actors worse. Like, that's all. That's the only discernible quality, is it makes them like condescending and worse actors. That's all we get from the alien, and until like the end, Picard gives a little speech, but that doesn't even make sense.
Just act like you've smoked a ton of weed and don't know where you are. Like, that was pretty much the entire direction. We had Wesley's awful sweater as well, which I think pretty much detracts several points from the episode.
You know what I
too.
just realised? This has the exact opposite problem Mud's Women had, where Mud's Women was like a Western episode with a sci-fi veneer. This is a sci-fi engineer with no plot.
Yeah.
This is like completely the opposite direction, and it's like, you know what? Maybe give me back the Western thing, because at least that had a plot going on.
And that's the sad part about this episode, is we had these two plots that didn't intersect at all. You know, at least if you're going to bring in a B plot, have some impact. Have the Soleil and the Antikins be some instrument in resolving.
It's meant to be about understanding and peace between two species who don't understand each other, and they're like, we're not going to bother connect these.
No, the B plot didn't even resolve. There was nothing came of it. They had these two warring factions come on the ship, and it just doesn't end. It just they are still warring. and that's it. They just deliver them. Then nothing
I suppose
happens.
that's why they're going to meet with the Funkadelics, is to work all that out. But
Are in Parliament.
At the same time, we've got a new being that, okay, fine. If that's the theme of the episode is new beings learning to interact with each other, that's fine. But you didn't actually accomplish that at the end. We don't learn to interact with the cloud beings at all. We just kind of, I guess resolved. They're still out there. What do? Do we just destroy the cloud so it doesn't happen again? Like,
the second last line of dialogue from Tasha. The problem is that one of the cooks has just been asked to broil reptile for the Antikins, and it looks like the Slay delegate. So, like, yeah, they're just eating each other by the end of this because the officers can't keep the peace.
Like, it's all incidental. It's like there's nothing to it. It's just a bit of background humor. But they spent so much on the effects work. Like, at least when the Fleetwood Mackerel came on board, it was sort of somewhat relevant to the plot. You know.
Fleetwood Mackerel.
What a handsome race, you know. But
all right, so in chat, on the plus side, this might have been Wheaton's best acting in TNG. Agree or disagree? I appreciated that he didn't immediately come in and solve the plot, but he didn't really add to it.
He was kind of just there to fulfill the credit. Like, Wesley was there in engineering over the back of Singh, who was easily the most competent person on the ship. My God, why did we not have 7 seasons of Lieutenant Singh? Because instantly he had about 5 lines and he was the most likable person, like, on the show.
It's because he wasn't white, and I hate to say that, but we all know it's true.
Yeah, well. Anyway.
Brought the episode to a screeching halt.
Yeah, well done. Thank you.
Well,
okay.
Look, am I wrong? Like, how many Indian actors have we had, throughout how many decades of Star Trek?
We did say that, yeah. There's been very few.
I wasn't trying to make a joke.
No, I know.
Let's discuss it, maybe.
I know. Okay, I've got a question for you all, and this is a little pop quiz. This was the first and second appearance of whom in this episode? The first and second appearance of whom?
First and second. Mark Alemo?
No, this is 2 separate people. So the first appearance of one person, second appearance of another.
Chief O'Brien's second appearance?
Correct, yeah. Who the first appearance of? Okay. You were nearly on the money.
Dexa and Degra.
No, not quite. No, you are. I'll give you a point, Starts, because you did say the name. Yeah, it was the first appearance of Michael Lamo as Badar
Mark.
Exactly, as the
remix.
And apparently a line. Go on.
I did want to read this. I'm just
no, you do.
You go for it. Mark Alamo makes his first Star Trek appearance as Badar N''D''. So Badar N''D''. He went on to play yada yada yada. Alamo went uncredited for the Antikin, commenting that the reason was, quote, "I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, so I asked them not to put my name on it." Smart move, Mark. Yeah. But it turned out to be fun. That was sourced from...
I'm glad he had fun. He had fun.
Was sourced from a magazine called Mark Alamo, the unlikely sex symbol.
Ooh, agree.
For those that aren't aware, Mark Alamo plays Gul Dukat in Star Trek DS9.
Yeah. He didn't want the credit because he didn't want to be typecast as guy in heavy makeup.
Thank God he escaped that, right?
Yeah. It's also marks 2 things as well. It's the first bottle episode show in The Next Generation, and it's also the first TNG death. The first death of a crew member in TNG with, unfortunately, Lieutenant J.G. Singh.
That was chilling too. That got me. I remember as a kid, that got me. His open eyes, face down death over the warp core with it illuminating his face. Really well done. And again, a credit to Cliff Bowl, the director. There's a lot of aspects to this episode that could have been handled poorly. There's a lot of corridor shots, again, bottle show, but instead he chose to elevate it. Now we've got these the great trekking exterior shot going into the conference room.
That was quite cool.
The lighting was fantastic in this entire episode, going through and in the B plot, especially when they've got I guess they had to lower the lighting to accommodate the delegates, but it gives a marked difference when we're on that level. I appreciated watching the episode. I just didn't appreciate listening to it. So,
not to take anything away from him, but I think when you tell the director and the actors, look, this has got to be a bottle episode, budget, yada yada yada, they usually take it upon themselves to try to look for unique vantage points or devices that they can use to spice things up, and it usually results in a better product. So I'm sure that helped, knowing going into it that they had to do something to spice it up.
But did it work?
No.
All right. I'm gonna preempt something here. What show could have done this? Would you like to see do this? And who could have done it better?
Like, essentially the plot is alien consciousness takes over someone on the ship, and the B plot is you are trying to resolve a diplomatic struggle between two species. I feel like Voyager has done this in some capacity. Some sort of Akuchi Moya situation, I believe, with Chakotay's spirit being lost between some members of the crew. I believe
is that cathexis?
Impossible. Yeah, it sounds very cathexis. I feel this could be a Voyager plot for sure.
The bits around on the medicine ball.
I feel right. There's a plot here where Neelix offers to, ferry some delegates that he's very familiar with that ends up going insanely wrong. But it plays a lot more comedic because it's Voyager and it's Neelix, and then on the side, Chakotay just infests the entire crew with his Indian bullshit.
All right, so we've seen Shatner be possessed before. Several times. In fact, Sargon comes to mind where he struts around that fucking line where he's like, I compliment your doctor on maintaining an excellent body for Captain Kirk. He's like, he's so in love with himself.
Oh, you didn't go to Turnabout Intruder? Okay.
No, that's a different episode. I want to see Anson Mount do a over-the-top Shatner-like impression being possessed.
Oh, that'd be so good.
Yeah. I feel like the Elysian Kingdom...
Like no one else.
Yeah, Elysian Kingdom comes close, but yeah, you're right. We definitely need like Anson flexing a bit more.
And look how good he was in that.
I know.
So of course you want him to like do it again.
It's true.
What other cast?
Dan, what about you?
I don't want to see this in any other show. This reminds me of an episode. This reminds me of an episode of Lost in Space. Just no point.
It is.
No.
Okay,
I
so
refuse. No.
There's an episode of Lost in Space where a casino machine becomes sentient and literally chases them around the surface of a planet by like rolling on the ground toward them, and it has a laser attached to it that evaporates them. I remember that years later because it was so stupid, over the top, weird ass concept that it's like, this is dumb, but I'm definitely never going to forget it. This episode is dumb, but I will forget it because nothing actually happened in it. No one came out better. No threads were tied into future episodes. Yeah. Everyone just came out like a wet noodle. So, you know.
Yeah, mentioning the last appearance of all three of the aliens in this episode in the entire universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, no bothered completely. Because why would you? What's the point?
I think Lower Decks kind of brought the Antikins and Slay back, but they didn't name them. I feel like they kind of went like, these are the lizard people and these are the rat people, and they kind of alluded to it. But yeah, essentially.
Were they rats? I thought they were cats. What type of they were called mammals of some sort. Dogs. Okay.
Yeah. I thought they were otters. What are you talking about?
When even Lower Decks is afraid to name drop something in Trek, you know it's bad. Like Lower Decks, bar of entry is very low.
Yeah,
so.
Lower Decks, the king of bringing back the most obscure reference from every Trek, won't even go like, no, fuck this. Like Antikins and Slay, no.
Right, so, you know, we're having fun ragging on it. A serious question to all of you three: who came out of this episode looking better, looking more competent than they were going in? And you can't pick Singh because he's dead now.
Damn it! I literally was about to say that. I kind of want to say Wesley, of all things, because although he was, they kind of gave him the treatment of like they did in Where No One Has Gone Before, where he's standing behind giving all the answers, and they're like, "Yeah, shut up." But he is there, kind of on top of the situation, and he's there like going, "Mum, you're acting weird," and like, yeah. I kind of feel it's a little bit Wesley for me. Data, yeah, that's a good one.
Guess what? It may be dressed up in a Sherlock Holmes veneer that you don't appreciate, also because you have no taste. But he does actually do the busy work of checking to make sure that the movements of the delegates were like it matches up with their stories. He does his job. He gets Doctor Point because he doesn't notice like Crusher acting weird at the console. Or he does, but then just immediately forgets about it. But he does actually do some detective work and try and fix the problem. So I'm going to give it to Data for me.
Did Yar actually do her job in this episode? She was involved.
Not at all.
No. Okay.
No.
which is a shame.
No, she didn't necessarily, but she also didn't do something over the top, stupid, like incompetently bad.
True.
She was just kind of there.
She was overwhelmed a little bit by it all.
Right. Well, that's it. She was pulled away, and she was dealing with the lizard and the dog or rat people, and so I mean, it's forgivable that she wouldn't have been directly involved with this ephemeral threat that nobody even knew halfway through the episode was even there. But
can we talk about Troy in this episode? He probably comes off worse than everyone else for like being the person that should have been able to detect this shit from day one. And it's a typical TNG thing. Let's just ignore the person who's probably the most competently able to decipher this crisis and just sit there with a little shiny screen and go, "I'm gonna hypnotize you." Like, what the fuck? What do you remember last? Like, that's not hypnotism. That's just remembering shit.
Yeah. But no, she held up the sparkly thing.
Oh, of course, that's fine. She's the master from Doctor Who now.
She has all the tools to be one of the best diplomats in Star Trek history, and they never call on it. I can't think of a single time where you have an alien race and she does anything more than give, like, passing advice to Picard. Like, she could be the Reva, basically, of the main cast, where you sit them down and get them
Eugene Chafor. Emphasis on the Cheen and the four.
Yeah. This is going to go on my Troy States the Obvious score, although it wasn't quite there. It's literally I think I should rename this. This should be... Because I feel it's quite cruel, because Troy has a good set of skills that are underutilized or not written correctly. Yeah. Like, it's like that's what's going on there.
They don't need to put in the work. Sorry, I'm kind of yawning because the episode was so boring. It's literally a case of like when you have a character with powers in your environment, you have to think about how they use those powers in every single facet of their life and how it works. But you also have to think of ways of limiting them and then ways of making those limitations seem natural, and they don't bother with any of that.
I think post Chain of Command, essentially when they put her in the uniform, she has a lot more episodes where she's
get Face of the Enemy. Like Face of the Enemy is the definitive Troy episode.
A professional and this and that. But
you know what would have fixed this episode?
A plot?
If the malevolent electricity organism was actually positive and had a positive influence and manifested, and after maybe accidentally killing Singh. Okay, we can forgive that. Maybe he was
technically killing
Picard. But then it's like, hey, wait a minute! I figured out how to communicate. I need to get back to my people, and the only way to do that is to beam your captain out into space. How can we do this? And they actually worked positively, and there was an exchange of intelligence. Cut out the
entire Soleil and Anakin plot and just gave it over to let's talk to the alien.
And it became a first contact situation.
Kind of get like an instance of command thing.
Genuine. Yeah. Why do they have to be malevolent and hijack? Why do they have to pull a binary?
So, what actually happened to Picard? Because, like, he gets beamed into space, but all of a sudden he's producing his pee on the console. And please don't take that the wrong way.
Were you sitting on that one? Were you sitting on that one?
A little bit.
He's been sitting on his pee for a while, I guarantee you, Otto.
All right, subtext. Thank you. And all of a sudden, like, because I thought he was in his own body, but all of a sudden he gets beamed out into space, and his body is actually in the circuitry of the Enterprise, but he can think enough to produce a pee on Data's console.
Just don't think about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. It's literally, don't think about it. It just works. Don't worry. It's the Stars classic. Don't worry about it.
All right. Wait, hold on. I like this thread we're doing, started by Dan, where we just try to fix the episode. All right, here's a possible... It's not a fix. How can we make... No, really, constructive criticism for once. How can we make this better? I'm thinking of the beginning of the episode Brothers, where Data does the whole lockout command thing, and he takes over the ship. What if, Picard, inhabited by the alien, is trying to get off the ship because he thinks it's going to save the alien. So he's doing these lockout, he's doing the chase thing through the ship. The staff are trying to stop him, and he manages then to get to the transporter and beam out. That wouldn't make the episode much better, but it would at least fix like a minor plot point and be a little bit more action and a really actionless episode.
Well, it would give y'all something to do other than just stand there while the Soleil and Anakin's talk. Like, she could be locking him out through security consoles and stuff like that. It would give War something to do other than like scream and get hit with electricity. It would give
which he did very well.
Oh, yeah. He did that very convincingly.
At least 2 rolls on his way down.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a very Tim Russian role.
Yeah. Picard seems almost strangely complicit too. Like it's implied that he's It's implied that he's like there, right there, along with the alien. But then he's like, okay, shocking the entire bridge crew into incapacity. I don't get the motivation.
I feel like that would have been cool if they had, like, in the Antikins and Soleil plot, like maybe they were trying to fight over some artifact that was disputed between their two kingdoms, but this artifact actually belonged or was part of this alien sentient creature. I feel like there wasn't enough to meld these A and B plots together, which they tend to do in Star Trek. They tend to have a little bit of a common thread, but they were just so completely separate. They're on their way.
It's like the entire main crux of the plot is a weird being that you're antagonistic with, that you don't understand and refuse to engage with, and then they have a B plot about two species that are antagonistic and refuse to engage with each other, and the two don't connect at all. The Slain Antikins don't even appear to have anything's noticed, like anything's gone wrong, apart from the fact that they weren't going to Parliament.
Yeah, not only do the A and B not interact, but neither the A or the B is resolved. Sufficiently.
No,
so it's like it's a multi-level failure.
Like Federation ships are still going to come across but I don't even think the TNG cast like react to the fact that, like, oh, there's an alien out there. Never mind. Carrying on. Let's not leave buoys down.
Here's where I'm at. Charlie X slapping Janice Rand's ass. I think I gave a 1.0 out of 10, and I'm struggling to see if this is. I think it's better, but it ain't much better. Like, that's where we're at right now.
I think I'm gonna. I almost want to skip best and worst moments, because this episode is full of worst moments, and the only good moment that I'm going to say...
No, let's do it.
Okay, all right. Best and worst moments. I'm going to start myself. No, I'm going first. Fuck you. I'm going first because I'm going to say, because I know exactly what you're going to... I know exactly what you're going to do. The best moment for me was Data being Sherlock Holmes, and there you go. I'm going to take it. Actually, I will say I will allow you to take it as well, because it's pretty much the only redeemable thing about this episode was Data suddenly, like that moment when they're talking about Sherlock Holmes and you get that slow zoom on Spiner's face and he's just like, yeah, I could do this. Like,
I could overact in other ways.
Yeah, like indubitably, like that was it for me. Worst moment. I mean, I'm not even going to give a worst moment because we've just spoken about the entire episode. Like, the episode was the worst moment. Go on, Stars.
Random timestamp in the episode, and it'll give you one.
Exactly.
Best moment for me. I'm actually not going to take the Sherlock Holmes thing. I'm going to pick Patrick Stewart's incredibly Fruit Loopy acting the instant the energy takes him over, when he's just like putting his feet up on the desk and he's just like, oh, is the captain expected to explain all of his orders? Like, he might as well have just been like, he's acting like Mr. fucking Sinister from X-Men, for God's sake.
185.7.
Yeah, 0.7. Like, what fucking fruit? Oh, I love it. That's my best. And yeah, worst, just pick a moment. I don't give a fuck.
Auto.
See, now that you guys have thrown down the gauntlet, I gotta say, actually, my worst might be Data.
Oh.
You know, like, the episode was pointless.
Over everything else in the episode?
Well, I don't know. Maybe if I thought about it, there's some other things, but I just want to highlight it as something I didn't like.
Okay.
Because, like, they have these problems that they're theoretically supposed to solve, even though they don't get to it. Like, he's faffing around with like a pipe and shit in the ready room instead of like taking it seriously. And granted, he's one of the few that actually did the groundwork, but I hate Brent Spiner's accent for that character. I hate the fact that he's like not taking it seriously while there's like system failures and stuff.
Man has died. So, he's like, indubitably.
You know, when we get to Moriarty or whatever, you know, we'll hash it out a little more. But I just didn't like that about this episode. The best part, by a mile, was when the fucking Coachella glow stick comes out, because we all perked up at that. Suddenly the episode was hilarious, right? And for 60 seconds we had hope that it might be redeemable before it went right back down into the
Are you telling me this entire episode should have just been nothing but the Enterprise crew getting caught in these weird, dumb bullshit shenanigans between these?
They could have been railing lines of coke for all I care, as long as they bring out the glow sticks and have a little fun.
What I love is just like it goes from like another scene to all of a sudden Riker's just walking down the corridor, like, and he's just like, and like. What is this? Oh yeah, and can we also draw attention to the fact, and Dan, you might mention this, but like the Antikin's terrible imitation lightsaber that suddenly like closed down. Go on, Dan. Go on. Best and worst moments.
Yeah, that wasn't. And for once, I'm not going to go with a prop. So actually, I think my favorite moment was Singh and Wesley in engineering.
That's a good idea.
I really liked their interaction. I liked that Singh stood up for Wesley's best interests and said, "Hey, you know what? I know that you're down here because you love this shit, but you got to go study, dude. So go ahead and hit the books, man. And it's like, dude, this is how you got to where you're going. You're helping this boy in the way that he needs to be helped. It was genuine. I like that, and I think you're right. It was a better Wesley episode as a result. He was a few places he didn't belong, but yeah, it was fine. Worst moment, pretty much everything with Crusher. She was the reason why things got so bad. She was completely lacking in responsibility when she had missing time for turning himself in, and then to go and point the finger at the captain. Like, she deserved to have that thrown back in her face. She dropped the ball, put the entire Enterprise at risk, and worst moment.
You're not wrong, actually.
All right, let's get this over with. Stars. What is our rating this week,
gentlemen? How many Worfs twirling in energy distress out of 10 would you like to give this episode?
Brilliant. Wolves twirling in energy distress. Do you know what? I am going to give this... I'm going to give this a 0.5. I'm going to go for a decimal. You know how bad it is when I'm going for decimals.
Yeah,
I can't believe... I can't believe, right?
Episode.
I'm rating this less... I am rating this less than an episode we called Incels in Space. It was... There's just nothing about it.
I forget. Is this a 1 to 10 rating generally, or is this a 0 to 10? I've been operating on.
We've done minus scores. Like we're going for like roughly
in general,
0 to 10.
1 to 10,
0 to 10. Like there can be irredeemable episodes. If you want to give this, we have given zeros in the past, so we're not going for a strict criteria. Like you pick your fancy. But I'm just going to say this
is very serious.
This is, we've got our lab coats on and everything. This is science. This is just a nothing episode. Like this was a nothing, but worse, it was a nothing episode full of very bad things with very few irredeemable things, and the things that were redeemable were completely ignored. Like it's a lot of mischaracterization, miswriting as well, and not DC Fontana's best work at trying to adapt a screenplay. And this feels more like, oh, this is the series Bible. We need to adapt this very strictly, rather than going, really? Can we just look at the plot for a second here, maybe, and maybe sort of
take this away and give me something salvageable?
Can we just put another 10 minutes on the end here and just like maybe resolve some of these moments? But yeah, no, 0.5. This was.
You wanted
bad.
10 more minutes of this.
No, I wanted them to cut 10 minutes of something else and put in some resolutions to this, and then just evaporating Picard, and then that's his first death. He has died. The Picard we have going forward from now is not the one that captained the Stargazer or seduced Martina Benedictis. Yeah, it's the Picard of Theseus.
How many times can he die in the frozen time?
Exactly. Right, go on, Stars.
I'm gonna have to give this 1.5 Worfs twirling in energy distress out of 10, because yeah, this episode is like completely pointless, but I do appreciate Patrick Stewart's Fruit Loop acting, and I like the Data Sherlock Holmes stuff, so I'm never going to watch this episode again if I can help it, but like, those things made me smile. I'm glad they exist. So 1.5.
Okay. Dan?
There are some memorable things. We talked about this episode being forgettable, but I will remember Sing's death. I will remember the Anakin's in the sleigh. The costumes were fantastic. I will remember the direction. Some really interesting choices made for the production quality, despite it being a bottle show. But I can't rate it highly just because it looks great. It just really didn't feel like Star Trek, and that is a big big hit to it. I will give it a 2.7.
Ooh.
You have to clap your hands in between the decimals. Like
2.7. Auto.
Yeah, I think Dan made a lot of good points, especially about the direction choice, some of the exterior shots and stuff. So I think I'll give this 9.0 energy twirling wars. No, you fucking kidding me. 1.7. This is a garbage episode. It's one of the worst we've ever seen, and I don't know why I ask you about the rating thing, because for me it's 1 to 10. So 1 being the lowest.
Okay.
I'm sure I'll smash the bottom out at some point when I get like real feisty, but 1.7. 0.4 of that comes exclusively from the glow stick lasso, which was perked us all up for a second. And 0.3 of that is from the effort they actually put into not one, but 2 alien species, which we both get in Birth of the Federation, which is a fun game. So those are the only 2 redeeming qualities from this episode, but 1.7 is just, it's bottom barrel garbage. Skip it if you can.
Indubitably.
Okay, well, this a grand total average for this episode of a 1.6, and Star Trek is still just about sitting at a 6.0 rating. TNG has taken a hell of a hit. It's now currently our worst rated series at 3.2. This is
Good.
this. It can only
wait, but coming up next is Justice. They sentence Wesley to death.
Oh man, can't you wait to get past season 1?
That's gonna be a good episode.
It teased us with a good time, and then we don't get it.
Yeah, and also shame on you. I forgot to play the review, but I'll try and edit in post. Okay, well, in 2 weeks we have DS9's Captive Pursuit with the Toscan O'Brien, so stick around.
That's a good episode.
That is a good episode. We will see you then. Everyone on stream, everyone watching us, live long and prosper, and ta-ra.